Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Oh, yeah. Live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on Dish, your favorite radio station, and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends. Hello. Are you ready? I mean, are you excited? You should be excited. Today is the day that yes. Finally, here we are. I mean, 16 days later, we finally get it. We finally get to figure out where we're at in the whole the whole scheme of things, right? The whole in the whole schema of everything that's going on, we finally get a chance to figure out where we, the little people, have decided the direction our government should go. And I'm going to say that there is a bit of schizophrenia going on out there. There is some interesting stuff happening in some of the numbers, and we are going to deep dive into some of the numbers today. All right, I'll be clear about that. The ranked choice voting tabulation took place last night at 5 p.m. It was broadcast live. I mean, how many of you actually watched it? I mean, I didn't. But I mean, how many of you actually watched with bated breath for the, oh man, right? It's essentially done. Now, there are some races that are so close that there could be some automatic recounts, or not automatic, but they could be asked for, and everything else. But yeah, we're going to go over this morning. We're going to talk about it. And as I wrote in the description of the show this morning for Facebook and everywhere else, there's some good news and there's some bad news. I mean, there's some lessons to be learned here, but overall, I'm pretty pleased. This is like my phrase of the year. I'm cautiously optimistic. So we're going to see where, let me turn the heater off. We're going to see where this goes, this year and this session, but things didn't turn out quite the way that I think some of the power brokers out there wanted. So we're going to talk about that. And also, we're going to hear from you. Now, stuff and things. Yes, that's exactly. We're going to talk about stuff and things. Most of you have no idea what that's from, but those of you that do, you are my tribe. I'll just say things, Lori, stuff and things. All right. So the phone lines are open today. And, if you just want to vent about how your favorite candidate lost, or brag about how your favorite candidate won, or your favorite, whatever, you could feel free to do so. I kind of want this to be a little bit of a round table today of discussion and commentary, and, keep it civil, but you could tell me what you think. So I've opened up the phone lines this morning, and we're going to have the phones on for most of the show this morning. The only exception to that is when we talk in hour 2 at the top of the next hour, we are going to talk to Brad Anderson, who is the executive director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce. He reached out to me about a big event that they're having down in my adopted hometown of Homer next week for the buy local. It's like a Black Friday buy local thing. So we're going to talk with Brad about that in hour 2, which reminds me that if, since this show broadcasts across the state, if you are an executive director like Brad of a chamber of commerce or of something else, I fully would love for you to reach out to me and we'll talk about what's going on in your communities as well. I know that next month we're going to be talking with Kelly Shoemake, the executive director of the Palmer Chamber of Commerce, about their big Colony Days thing in Palmer. And so if any of you out there have people or know people who are in the chambers or the visitors bureau groups or anything else that want to talk about that, I always love to talk about local stuff. And let's face it, let's face it, now that the election's over, what else have we got to talk about, right? I mean, there's some things we could still talk about. I will say that it is as a radio show host and you're doing show prep and you're looking at the stories and when it is election season, man, there's always something out there to talk about. There's always something thick. But as we get close to the end of the year, sometimes I complain about this and sometimes I'm grateful about it. Things start to thin out. And then, of course, as we reach the end of the year, I'm so burned out by everything that's gone on. I'm always looking forward to those days off that I normally take between Christmas and New Year. This year will be no exception for a variety of reasons, of which I will probably inform you of on the 2nd of December. I have a big announcement that's coming up and I want to share it all with you, but we probably won't be ready to do that until a week from Monday. So, but I'm definitely looking forward to, which reminds me, of course, next week is Thanksgiving. I know it's a week late. It kind of screwed me up because normally Thanksgiving would be today, right? I mean, Thanksgiving would be but no, it's next week, Thursday and Friday, which I would normally take off, but I have decided instead to take the entire week off because I got stuff and things between Monday and Wednesday. And so next week we will be off the air with alternate programming across the whole state. And then we will be returning to the airwaves on Monday, December 2nd. So fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So it's going to be interesting. Anthony in Fairbanks just made a comment. This is one of the stories that I wanted to cover today. Anthony just made a comment in Fairbanks and he says, I mean, as far as Fairbanks goes, at least this live stream on the YouTube, the simulcast of the radio show is as close to a local news broadcast as we get now. Advertisers should take note. Well, thank you, Anthony. I agree. I think advertisers should take note. If you would like to advertise on the show, let me know. We'll make it happen. We'll make. Yeah, that's a story that we're going to get into here in just a little bit. As well throughout this morning and talk about it. But the majority of the show is going to be kind of a recap of, where we ended up and everything else. But I did open up the phone lines. Boy, I'm so distracto boy this morning. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. If you want to sound off about the results of any race, any decision, where do you think we go from here? Feel free to jump in on it and do it. Let's jump in and have a conversation about that this morning as we go on. Tomorrow is Firearms Friday, and I'm working on a couple different guests. I just don't know yet. Who might be here. I guess we'll throw it into the wind here. Looking at both Jacob Sullum from Reason Magazine and Dr. John Lott. I've reached out to both of them, and I was considering to see if I could reach out to David Codria as well, from the author of the War on Guns blog. So we'll see. It's a busy day today. Oh man, it's a busy day trying to get all that stuff. So anyway, feel free to tune in tomorrow to our favorite firearm show here as we get ready to go along. All right. So let me start off. I mean, I'm at the end of the segment, but let me start off some of the stories with a winter weather alert. And as Anthony just mentioned, you're not getting a lot from your local news sources anymore. So up there in Fairbanks, there is a winter weather advisory. There's also a winter weather advisory for Juneau and for Nome and the North Slope and the Yukon-Koyukuk. But since we probably only broadcast in those places on the internet, I'll leave those to more light. But in Fairbanks, there's a pair of winter advisories. One is today, wintry mix of snow and, wait for it, freezing drizzle. I mean, it was 30 below 2 days ago. Now it's freezing drizzle in Fairbanks today. A light glaze of ice and snow accumulations of up to 1 inch. That should be amazing. Should be amazing. Portions of the interior, including Fairbanks, until noon today. The impacts plan on travel being difficult. And if it was anything like that, November, the last time I guess it was the year before I left, or maybe it was 2 years before I left, they had that ice storm in November as well, when every road in town was like a glazed donut. I remember we were all stopped on the highway coming in from North Pole just after you come off the overpass there by the Shiny Chrome Diner there, the Little Richard's Family Diner. And the road had come to a stop because there was some kind of accident up ahead. And I was literally watching cars, because that part of the road is on a bit of a slant. It's a kind of a curve. And I was watching cars just at a complete stop, slowly sliding sideways on the road at a complete stop. And I was like, well, this is nuts. I think I should just go home. So today, wintry mix of snow and freezing drizzle, a light glaze of ice and snow accumulations of up to 1 inch. Plus, on top of that, there's a winter wind advisory in the Fairbanks census area, 15 to 25 miles an hour, gusts up to 40. Mostly that's happening down near Eagle, but you could see a little bit of that in the interior as well. So those are the winter weather advisories in effect right now across the state, mostly for Fairbanks right now in that regard. All right. Well, are you ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into this? Gary just said in the chat room that he drove into Eielson from out on Chena Hot Springs, and it's literally freezing rain the whole way. Oh. So be cautious, you folks in Fairbanks right now. If you can stay home, probably a good day to do that remote work. All right. So just think about that. All right. So you ready to do this? You ready to dive into the dirty deep end of the pool and get all the details and talk about it? Whew. All right. We'll see what this looks like. It's like I said, it's going to be good news, bad news. Yeah, it's going to be good. We will continue the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Again, the phone lines are open. If you want to sound off about your favorite part of the election, your most unfavored part of the election, the results, I just want to talk with you today. 319-527-3864. We will continue the Michael Duke Show.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes,
allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Well, hello. It's man, I'm excited today for a variety of reasons. I mean, one, because we finally got the election results, but I got other stuff going on too that, yeah, I mean, things are finally coming together. I've been waiting for it to come. Anyway, we'll be talking about that. David says freezing rain is kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Well, you know, it's that instance where it comes out of the sky as rain, and then once it hits the ground, it freezes. That's the problem. That is the problem right there. Tracer over on Rumble said our Mariners fleet is hopefully no longer getting that too freaking early in the season heavy freezing spray like they were last week. Oof, man, that's it. It's when a boat starts to, when you get that icing spray on the boats, that gets scary because that's how you capsize. You want to capsize? That's how you capsize. Anthony, always the sage of wisdom. 1 inch of freezing drizzle is like 850 calories at Starbucks, I believe. Oh, man. Donna says, how about we invite Lieutenant Governor Nancy Dahlstrom on to speak about election reform? Well, I'll reach out to her, but she never came on the program during the election as a candidate. What makes you think that she'd want to speak to me now based on her deepest shame? I mean, I don't know if this is her deepest shame, but if I was her, I'd be pretty embarrassed about what's going on at the Division of Elections. Frank says KFAR is a great source of local news. I would not disagree. I would not disagree at all. And Cindy, welcome home. She's back from Italy. She said, man, Italy is amazing. I missed you guys in my morning routine, though. So welcome back. Welcome back. Brittany says, Dark Money may have pushed RCV across the finish line, but we beat them at their own game. Can Nick ban RCV? No, Nick can't. Nick is, no. A congressman is not that powerful. It has nothing to do with state politics directly in that regard. All right. I think we're all caught up, although Bill just randomly said fried Brussels sprouts. I don't know why, but that's Bill. Bill sometimes just, just kind of comes. Fried Brussels sprouts, though. Ooh, that does sound good. In bacon grease, you cook some bacon, then you fry up a little chicken broth, and you pour. That sounds delicious. Love me some fried Brussels sprouts. All right. Good morning, Ron. Ron Gillum. Ron Gillum back. Good to see you, my friend. And thanks for going out there and trying. Thanks for trying to do what you need to do. There's a fat chance Nancy Dahlstrom will get out of her basement. Brian says maybe Nancy will come on for your big announcement. Here's me holding my breath, right? Here's me holding my breath. And Jeannie says, first responders call that weather anomaly, the icing, the raining, the ice rain, freezing rain. We call that ice capades. Yeah. Oh, man. Ooh. Well, that's an interesting thought. Tracer says, add a little hollandaise sauce over those Brussels sprouts. I mean, I like hollandaise sauce, and I like bacon pan-fried Brussels sprouts as well. Those would be good. Maybe that would be delicious. Yum. I like them both. Bonnie says, what are you making for Thanksgiving dinner? Well, turkey, probably cornbread stuffing, maybe oyster stuffing. I know my daughter's making her famous scalloped potatoes, as well as my Grandma Faye's world famous now because we put it on the internet, pumpkin pie, the chiffoned pumpkin pie, the one that's all thick and fluffy. I'm so looking forward to that. You have no idea. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Let's do it.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Enemy. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
Okay. I'll tell you right now, the post-election madness has already started. People in the chat room are already going off about Thanksgiving meals and recipes and pan-fried Brussels sprouts and hollandaise sauce and everything else, which we shouldn't do because I'm hungry. All right, we shouldn't do that. I never eat before the show, so whenever we start talking about food, I'm like, well, I get hungry. That's delicious. Anyway, so we're going to go into it and start talking about what is going on with the election, the results of the election as of the tabulation last night. Are you ready to dive into it? Are you ready to dive into it? Let's get to it, shall we? I put it off long enough. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about all this and get going on. So, like I said, some good news and some bad news. We will start off as we always did at the top. I mean, first and foremost, President Trump obviously solidified his final vote tabulation. 54.54% of the voters in the state of Alaska voted for the Trump-Vance ticket, with only 41% voting for the Harris-Walz ticket, and then a bunch of other folks voting for the various other. There was 2, 4, 6, 8 different candidates out there. But President Trump solidifying his win here in Alaska at nearly 55%. So that's it's interesting to see. Interesting to see what's going on. And no, that sound is not my stomach growling. It's my dog snoring. You can occasionally hear my dog snore. He's at my feet. I mean, Odo lived the life of a dog. Sleep all night, wake up in the morning, get a little food, and then come down and go back to sleep at the... Why can't I just do that? All right, let's go over to the U.S. House of Representatives, the congressional seat. Oh, baby. So these numbers that I have up on, for those of you who are not, or who are on the radio, I'm sorry, I have the numbers up on the screen. These are the unofficial numbers before they ran the ranked choice voting tabulation. But it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. The numbers came up and by the congressional seat. And when the final numbers are tallied, Nick Begich did eke out the win. He eked out the win against Mary Peltola by 164,117 votes to Mary Peltola's 155,763. So by just about 6,000 votes, he done eked it out in the end. So that's the good news. The good news is Nick Begich finally reigned supreme after the tabulation. And so that's definitely a piece of good news. We will have, I think, a good conservative representation in the Congress. But Mary Peltola did say that she's still ready to fight. She's still ready to fight. Now, remember, this is the same lady that told everybody that Nick Begich was scamming seniors. He basically was a slave driver of overseas workers. He would single-handedly, bring us to the point where that there's no fish and no children and no jobs in Alaska. But apparently we're back to the polite and nice Mary, because now she's like, oh, I'm rooting for you, Nick. Please don't forget the people in DC, when they're telling you that you're one of three, you're actually more than more than 700,000 Alaskans. And you read. And she, of course, also indicated that she's ready to fight. She's ready to fight and push across the finish line on this. She sent tens of thousands of letters out there. Her PACs and everything else did as well. And she also, I'm waiting to see if somebody actually files a protest or a complaint with the FEC, because one of the things that she also did, I mean, beside the fact that she created campaign stops where she gave free alcohol to people, where she held campaign events inside of public facilities like schools and things like that, but she also sent thousands and thousands of campaign style letters using her official letterhead and passing the costs off to taxpayers as, outreach. Remember where they said that you can't send more than 500 letters to a group of constituencies, and she basically created like 8 or 9, 10 form letters and sent them out in batches of 499 to bypass that. I'm waiting to see if somebody is actually going to file a complaint about that. But she's also says she's ready to fight. She's rooting for you, but she's just ready to go. Some say that she's going to ramp up a run for governor in 2026, or she may be planning to run against Dan Sullivan or 2028. I even heard that she may be looking to take Lyman Hoffman's seat as he retires in the next couple of years, so she could go back to the legislature. I mean, she just doesn't know what to do with her free time except go join government and try and put her policies on top of us. But that's where it's at right now. In the long run, the long and the short of it is she was defeated by just under 10,000 votes. Overall, by the way, 55% voter turnout in the state of Alaska, 340,000 total votes cast. For the U.S. House of Representative seats, just under 330,000 were cast for the Congress seat, but that's a pretty decent turnout. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right. We're going to continue on here, and we'll talk about, Senate District D. Senate District D is my greatest disappointment. Senate District D is my greatest disappointment in this race because that was where Ben Carpenter was defeated by Jesse Bjorkman. And it wasn't just it was the way that it was done, I guess, more than anything else. Here's an interesting note, though, when it was all said and done. Bjorkman won by 47.8%. So that means that there had to be a ranked choice tabulation on the first go round. Now, Tina Wegner, the Democrat, the interesting component was her voters largely favored Bjorkman as their second choice candidate because obviously Ben Carpenter is way too conservative for them. But in the end, Bjorkman defeats Carpenter 54 to 45.3%. In the red, down in the peninsula, the KPB, supposedly, I guess they were always duking it out between the Mat-Su and the KPB, who's the reddest. Apparently the Mat-Su wins this time because in the supposedly conservative bastion of the Kenai Peninsula Borough, Jesse Bjorkman defeats Ben Carpenter 54 to 45. Also, of course, we've got Senate District F, which is James Kaufman, Janice Park, and this show's own resident, I guess, curmudgeon. I think that's a good word. I won't use the word troll. I'll just say he is the show's own resident curmudgeon. That is Harold Borbridge. Harold Borbridge, who ran for office, got 7% of the vote, did very well there. But has been saying in the last couple days on the program in the chat room that Janice is going to take this. Janice is going to take this, and so don't worry about it. But interestingly enough, the ranked choice tabulation revealed that Borbridge's voters favored Kaufman as their second choice, which is, again, very interesting to see. One thing that Harold did bring up, and I am greatly appreciative of him for, is that he criticized Kaufman for joining the bipartisan majority coalition, the Binding Caucus. And at this point, it's not really clear whether Kaufman will again join the Binding Caucus or instead choose to caucus with a Republican-only minority, because now we have a much larger minority in the a much larger number in that minority. It's not just 3. It looks like it could be 5. Potentially it could be 6. Now, again, I'm cautious. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Kaufman will probably join the Democrats as well and allow people like Gary Stevens and Chuck Kopp to take the wheel on that. But I mean, here's hoping that maybe by Harold bringing this up and shaking it in his face enough times, maybe he hears, but I don't know. But James Kaufman, that was a little bit in doubt, but now that is solid. James Kaufman is now the candidate for Senate District, or is now the reelected to Senate District F. He won by just under 1,000 votes. All right. So then we get on to Senate District L, which is, again, Jared Gecker versus Kelly Merrick. That race was not even close. 2,000 votes. Republican Senator Kelly Merrick takes that piece and wins. Some good news. Remember, I said it was the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Okay, or good and bad news. So the good news is that in House District 6, down in Homer, the Lower Peninsula, Sarah Vance was able to pull it out. It was a little bit. I was worried. I was a little worried about what was happening over there. And the big deal was that Sarah Vance has now won re-election. She won by 52 to 48%. Surprisingly, contrary, and this just goes to prove you that every rumor you hear is not true. Okay. And like I said earlier, I heard this rumor, and if it was true, I was going to be very disappointed. But it looks like that Slaughter's voters, Dawson Slaughter, who had 9.4% of the vote before the ranked choice voting tabulation, generally preferred Vance. And in fact, I would argue that by a pretty significant margin, because she has now beat Johnson roughly 52 to 48%. So I think that's a pretty solid win. So congratulations to Sarah Vance for winning House District 6 again with a decisive. This was not like a 50.1 to 49.9. This is a big 4-point spread on this. So I think, again, Sarah Vance, everybody knows her heart. They may not always agree with her on certain things. Heck, I don't agree with her on everything, but she has got a good heart for this, and she is working hard for that as well. That brings us up to the break. We're going to continue here in just a moment. We'll continue on with the House districts, and then we're going to get to the bad news. And we can commiserate if you want. Phone number 319-527-3864. If you want to join in the conversation, feel free to do so. It is the post-election day final coverage, I guess, of the 2024 election. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We return with more in just a moment. Just a mo? Back with more right after this.
running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Dukes Show.
Okay. There we go. There we go. They did the ranking distributions. Yes, they did. Okay. I'm scrolling backwards here to see where you guys are at this morning. Okay. Scores of Alaska federal workers, says Harold, are preparing to bail out of Alaska. At least 5,000 high-paying federal jobs are headed out of the state. Really? I mean, they're packing their houses now? Cite your sources. What are you talking about? What do you... They're preparing to bail out of Alaska. Why would they bail out of the gravy train a minute before it's... I mean, if they get cut by the DOJ, right, by the Department of Governmental Efficiency, if they do get cut, why wouldn't they hang on to the last minute? Why are they preparing now? I'm just, you're speculating, right? I mean, this is not... I'm just asking. Cindy says, I got 2 out of my 4 election results wish. I'm going to see my glasses half full. I think that's a good way to look at it. My friend was saying, Frank, my friend was saying maybe Gabrielle Ledoux could come on the show and talk about elections. Oh, man. Do we need to start strategizing on how to use ranked choice voting against them? I mean, I think we did a pretty good job this go around, don't you? I mean, I think we did a pretty good job. I think we learned from the last one. All right, let's go on. How many private sector jobs did Mary create anywhere? Lobbyists in DC, perhaps? Yep, possibly. It doesn't sound like she did anything except for Biden. Peltola needs to disappear. Richie said Bjorkman is essentially a Democrat, so that makes sense. He's talking about the fact that Wagner's voice, Wagner's second choice places always went for Bjorkman. I just thought it was interesting to look at. Charlie says, I filed complaints with the Congressional Ethics Commission and Office of Special Counsel about Mary's use of her son in their Coast Guard uniforms in her ads. Good for that. Good deal. Brian said, Harold did better than I thought. Yeah, no, he did well. And like I said, I really appreciate the fact that he brought up the whole binding caucus, Democrat majority. I thought that was good. And will it affect Kaufman? I don't know. But that could have been a nail biter. If more people on Harold's ticket had ranked Park as a second choice, James Kaufman could be out. He better start paying attention. Rick said, so KPB is now a bunch of Democrats. Well, I don't think that. I mean, you got people like Cindy and Jeannie and everybody else down there. But I mean, you guys need to get your poop in a group down there and figure out what's going on. All right. So Sarah Vance, that got it at, Harold did say, he says, I'm retiring from politics. 2 races is good enough. Well, good for you. I mean, at least you did it. I can respect that. At least you ran. Let's get out there. Megan says Bjorkman has a great ground game, gets out everywhere, very friendly and personable. So I see why people choose him. He got me the first time, but hopefully he does well for us. Super Red Nikiski loves him. Well, that's odd. You love him as a person, but do we not analyze his politics and his policies? I mean, I can love people. Scott Kawasaki is very personable. I hate everything about his personal philosophy, but he is a very personable guy. So just because you're nice and polite and have some charisma, can't we not separate the man from the method? Or you know what I mean? You could be personable, but if your policies are bankrupting us, maybe we should talk about that. I'm just saying. Sorry if I missed it, says Mary Beth. Did you announce the final results of the propositions? No, I haven't, but sneak peek, ranked choice voting failed. I mean, the repeal failed. We'll get to that here in a minute. All right. Honestly, okay. Peltola can go back to fishing with her upside down fishing rod. Diane says, in counterpoint, Bjorkman may have had a good ground game, but so did Ben Carpenter. The problem is Bjorkman ran a very dirty campaign 2 years ago against Tuckerman, and again this year. He lies with a straight face. Not sure how you can lie and gets by with it. It's because people don't fact check politicians. I mean, and he did have a very kind of greasy, dirty campaign on top of that. I agree. What is superintendent is reportedly being interviewed because published an article in the fall stating they're opening a pilot program of school-based healthcare. Okay, we'll continue to discuss it. Here we go.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Enemy. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke show.
A pain in the something. Pain in the something, right? I mean, that's what we're... All right, we're continuing our discussions. Sorry, I'm answering a text message from Brad Anderson, our guest coming up in hour two, executive director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce, will be with us here in about 15 minutes. And he'll be joining us to talk about their big event coming up next week. It's the big Black Friday buy local event. I just dropped my phone on the floor. Okay, it's a Monday. I mean, it feels like it's a Monday, but it's not. All right, let's get back to the election results. Whew, man, it's like I said, Distracto boy this morning. All right, so House District 6 was where we left off with Sarah Vance. It's good to see. Now, out in the Valley, there were some interesting races going on. And that, of course, the big one was the one between David Wilson, not David Wilson, but between Alexi Moore and Jesse and Steve Menard and Jessica Wright. We're going to get to that one here in a second. But before we do that, the biggest surprise of the ranked choice tabulation and the final wait for all those overseas ballots, well, it paid off, my friends. It paid off. District 18, that's the seat held by Cliff Grow. And according to the ranked choice voting tabulations, David Nelson won the seat by 23 votes. What did I say earlier this week? What did I say? Waiting for those overseas ballots to come in from the military because they represent J-Bear. And David Nelson has done very well with the military vote the last couple times that he has ran. And it looks like he will take this seat. Now, with only 23 votes out of over 3,700 votes, I'm sure that there will probably be some kind of recount. In the ADN, Cliff Grow was reported in the ADN as saying that he's reviewing his options, including possibly requesting a recount. Candidates can request a recount within 5 days of when the results are formally certified, which is expected to occur by November 30th. So these are, again, I'm giving you the final results, but everything doesn't get certified till the end of the month, 25 days after the election. Anyway, if they do request it, the state is required to pick up the tab for the recount if the margin in the race is under 0.5% or 20 votes, whichever is smaller. Otherwise, the recount is completed only if those requesting it are willing to cover the cost. So Groh says he's mulling his options, but 23 votes. Well, I guess we'll see. I just don't know if you'll be able to make that up in the long run. But this is good news, because what this does is that it shrinks. Remember the day after election, they all came out and said, well, we've got a whole new organization now and we're in charge. But are you really in charge? Because with the defeat of Cliff Groh, that means that the coalition majority in the House is a one-member majority. It's 21 out of 40. And we've talked about it on this show many times that a majority really needs to be 23, 25. That way it doesn't give that one member that can swing it an inordinate amount of power, because they can hold the whole majority hostage over something that they want. Remember, that was part of the problem with the whole David Eastman thing, holding the whole majority hostage over certain things. This is the good news. This is the best outcome of the best outcome would have been a full Republican majority overall. That would have been the best outcome. But with a 21 vote majority, this is the second best outcome, because it means that the House has a lot of the minority would have a lot of horsepower to be able to sway members back and forth. So this is good news right now. In fact, Kathy Tilton was quoted as saying that she's thrilled with the fact that Nelson looks like he's taken this seat. I think she says, what I think this does is that it opens the doors to have more negotiations or discussions with folks who are looking at joining the Democratic coalition. She did say later that a lot can happen between now and when we go to Juneau. So that 21 vote majority, 21 person majority may swing the other way. I mean, because the Bush caucus is made up of 4 members. And if 21 goes the other way, it could go either way at this point. And especially when we're hearing rumblings that some of the Democrats were very upset about having to promise to have that binding caucus rule. Maybe they could get 22 or maybe 23 if they had a couple more Democrats defect over to the Republican-controlled majority in that regard. I don't know. This will be one of the most interesting things to look at, but it's all because of this Cliff Groh, David Nelson race. So we'll see how that lays out. All right. I'm sorry. I've got more discussions, more things to come out. What did I want to talk about? Wow. Good morning. Let me go. I'm just going to scroll through here because it'll remind me. It'll go ding in my brain when I see it. There we go. David Eastman, Jubilee, Underwood. That race is now pretty much done. It was a 200 vote lead. It was a squeaker. She's slated to unseat David Eastman from that, and that's seen also as a pickup for Republicans, as he has been repeatedly rejected by the caucus because of some of his actions. So that's a good pickup. District 28 is again the Alexi Moore, Stephen Menard, and Jessica Wright race. That race is kind of crazy because it was super close. After Jessica Wright was eliminated and the ranked choice tabulation was completed, and Jessica Wright, most of her votes favored Menard, but it only narrowed it down. Alexi Moore is still won, but she only won by 13 votes after the tabulation process. 13 votes. Don't tell me your vote doesn't count, man. 50.1% to 49.9%. That's how close it was. 13 votes out of almost 8,000 votes cast. Up in the interior, Rebecca Schwenke, she has won that race. Brandon Kowalski was in second place. Pamela Good of Hackensack was in third place with 25.5%. After the tabulation with Fields and Good eliminated, Schwenke beat Kowalski 56-43. That's the spanking we were looking for right there. A full 12 points. That's the spanking we were looking for in that race. And that is House District 36. So that's a good one. That's a good one right there for sure. And then what else? Oh, of course, we knew that Rob Yunt was going to beat David Wilson. This was an interesting comment. How much time do I have here? I'm running close on time, and I will get to the ballot measure. Sneak peek, spoiler alert, it's not good news for the ballot measures on either one. But I will note this. I found it interesting that the ADN, this article written by Iris Samuels and Sean McGuire, when they were talking about Rob Yunt, who defeated David Wilson, this is the sentence that got me. Yunt, who captured 52.7% of the vote, campaigned on limiting the rights of transgendered athletes, not protecting females from, not protecting female sports or doing, he campaigned on limiting the rights of transgendered athletes. What about the rights of the non-transgendered athletes to be able to be secure in their privacy of their locker rooms and things like that, to be able to have an equal playing field when they're competing against somebody who's biologically male? What about he campaigned, this is again, hey, your bias is showing, campaigned on limiting the rights of transgendered athletes. Whew, man, that's just nasty, isn't it? All right, we're going to continue here in just a minute. Brad Anderson from the Homer Chamber of Commerce is coming up to talk to us about a big event that they're doing next week in Homer, a big buy local event. And then we'll go back to discussing some of the final results. We'll get to the ballot measures. Back with more. Hour 2 is dead ahead. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Diane said I meant Tuckerman, not Ruckerman. I read it as Tuckerman, so I knew what you meant on that. That was good. If you tell people a lie long enough, it will eventually become the truth. Jesse Bjorkman used that analogy perfectly. Yeah, no, there we go. Yeah, Ted Bundy was nice. If you think his ground game is good and he's very personable, so was Ted Bundy. Good point. Good point, Brian. Rick said poop in a group. That's a crappy thing to say. Well, you could get your crap in a pack, or you could get your poop in a group, or you can get your stuff together. Whatever you want to do. Bjorkman is friendly until you cross him and question him, and then his true colors come out and you're blocked. Yeah, I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people have gotten gotten kicked out of a social media circle, which I thought that was, not supposed to happen. Didn't Kevin McCabe get sued for that? Didn't Laura Reinbold get sued for that? For those of you who have friends, this is a good question. I see Brad's in the green room. We're going to get to him in a second. For those of you who have friends outside in states where ranked choice voting went down, can you ping them and see what the opposition's pitch was and if they recall who was funding? He says, my curiosity is piqued. Yeah, it is. Harold says, does this shift the balance? And that's really going to be the question. We don't know yet, Harold. Even as it sits right now, if the election results all stand the way they stand right now, it's only a 21 vote majority out of 40. And that's iffy. I guess it depends on which minority offers the Bush caucus the biggest, I guess, bag of goodies at this point. Because at 21, it can flip either way. But we're gonna see. Let's see. I'm scrolling. Ballot measures, says Kim. They went bad. Both of them went bad the way we didn't want them to go. I'm just telling you. I mean, I would make Brad talk politics today, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to talk about that event. But that ballot measure number 1, small businesses like members of the chambers in the various communities, they're going to feel that, man. If you have to go, it's not the minimum wage component that's the part that's going to hurt. It's the mandatory leave, a paid leave for all your employees, even for small businesses. That's going to be the painful part. And then add to that the whole free speech issue and all that. All right. I'm sorry. I haven't gotten to all your comments here. The pumpkin pie sounds good. It is delicious. All right. Okay. Let's go over here and get Brad. I'm sorry. I didn't get to everyone, but we'll come back to those later. But Brad Anderson is joining us, Executive Director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce. Let's say good morning to him. Hello, Brad. How are you?
Hey, Michael. Good morning. Good to see you.
You too. Let me. You are loud and proud this morning. Let me adjust you down a little bit. No, I'm just going to pull your volume just a little bit because you were definitely awake and ready this morning. So how are things going down there in my adopted hometown?
Cold, but actually doing good. It's been beautiful
Good.
weather here lately. Just I'd much rather have this than we get that little slushy stuff. So all good.
Yeah, no, I hear that it has been. The weather's been pretty darn good. That people keep teasing me with it, and I'm like, that's not fair.
We have had the most amazing.
It's better here than it is in Fairbanks, but down there it's even better than here. Yeah.
Oh,
so
our sunsets have been phenomenal lately.
All right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. It's I guess got warm, a little snow, and now you're back. And man, someday over the rainbow, we'll be doing it. All right. So Brad, we're going to be talking about, and what are you calling this event? I mean, this is like a Black Friday buy local kind of thing.
Well,
what is the event that's coming up?
Bingo. Yeah, Shop Local Bingo.
Shop Local Bingo. Okay. Well, it sounds like we got a little bit of game of chance going on here too. So I like that.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that as well. So I'm going to put you back in the green room and we'll come back to you here in just a moment. And we'll be back with Brad Anderson, who's the Executive Director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce. And we will talk with him here in just a moment. I just turned all this stuff on and now I got to turn it all off again so that we can get all this thing. All right. Okay, here we go. Give me that. Boy, everything is so slow. Did you see the press conference with the Seattle mayor? He was announcing a cleanup of downtown Seattle, i.e. removing graffiti, closing down the open-air drug market. Some lady in the audience went off the rails. I did not see that. I'll have to go back and watch that. I'll have to go back and watch that for sure. Okay. That's it. Since ranked choice voting repeal failed, I might use it to my favor, says Ron Gillum. How does Gillum for governor sound? Just asking. Well, there you go. You could take the temperature in the room, Ron, and see what people think. That's a big jump, but hey, you know what? We do what we got to do. All right, we're going to jump back into this here in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense, Liberty Based, Free Thinking Radio.
Whoa, Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends, and welcome back to the program. This Thursday edition, we've been going over the election results. Final tabulation for ranked choice tabulation happened last night at 5 p.m. So we've been going over a lot of the results in hour one. We will do a recap of some of that in hour two. We'll also talk about the ballot measures. I want to do that. But before that, we've got a guest in the studio. Well, he's in the virtual studio in the green room right now hanging out. We're about to talk to Brad Anderson, who's the executive director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce, about their buy local bingo, which is happening next week. But before we do that, a bit of housekeeping because it is the top of the hour. I know a lot of you are just joining us and weren't part of the 6 o'clock club. Shame on you. It's so easy to join the 6 o'clock club. You just got to be here before 7. It's that easy. Then you get bragging rights. Anyway, the housekeeping is that I will be off the air all of next week. Thursday and Friday is, of course, Thanksgiving, and normally I'd be off those 2 days. But I got stuff and things to do next week, and so that means Monday through Wednesday I will also be off the air. So we'll be off the air for Monday through Friday of next week with alternate programming in all the markets, and then I will be returning to the airwaves with some big announcements on December the 2nd. Monday, December the 2nd. So a week from Monday, we'll be back on the air. And it'll be wild. It'll be crazy. Your mind will be blown, all right? So that's coming up a week from Monday. But we will be off the air next week in the interim. Just FYI. All right. Well, let's get to it. I want to talk about this. And as I said earlier, when I announced that Brad was going to be on the program, if you are a member of a local chamber or you know somebody or what, have them reach out to the show. I love to talk. In December, we're going to be talking with Kelly Shoemake, who's the executive director of the Palmer Chamber of Commerce, about their Colony Days celebration, in Palmer. So if you got anybody else that you want, Fairbanks or, any point in between, we'd love to talk to you as well on that. All right. So let's go over here and talk to Mr. Brad. We call him Mr. Brad Anderson, who is the executive director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce. He joins us right now. Good morning, Brad. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Michael. Good morning. I'm doing great. Hi, everybody.
It's good to have you on. Thanks for reaching out to me. Brad reached out and told me about this event, and that's when I invited him to come on because it's the local stuff is what's important. I mean, that's really what the power of radio is the local stuff, which is, you poor people in Fairbanks have no longer got any local news. Just talk to me. We'll figure it out. Anyway, local stuff is important. And of course, local business and private economy is the heartbeat of any community. And Brad, you guys have got this thing coming up, which sounds kind of spicy, sounds kind of good, sounds kind of fun. And this is the Buy Local Bingo, all happening next week. Give us the rundown here. What's happening in Homer?
Yeah, I think everybody is familiar with the Shop Small Saturday, program that American Express had started, and in every chamber, our role is to try to support our local economy the best we can. And we just wanted to see if we couldn't make it a little bit more exciting and fun to encourage people to come out for the whole Black Friday time period and support local businesses. So last year we introduced a little twist on the whole thing. So we made it into a bingo game. So we got last year 25 stores participated, and they each have a square on a bingo game. And then so as they visited stores around town, the store would stamp their card. And then next Monday, if they brought that card in the chamber for every bingo, so every row that they get, they got an entry into a drawing. And all the businesses contributed a gift of $25 or more. We put them into a gift packages. And then we also got about $300 we can do as Homer Bucks as a grand prize. So yeah, when we get to our holiday tree lighting event, that'll be on December 5th. We're going to draw winners for all of those. And so last year, it just went over so well. We had almost half the people spent the whole weekend going around and got a blackout. So went to every business on that thing. It turned into quite an adventure for them. So, and we had more businesses respond this year than we had room on the card. So this year we added a row of a bonus row. So we have 30 businesses participating this year. So it's just a way to have some more fun, get to meet local businesses, get your family, friends together, and have fun shopping after Thanksgiving.
Well, like I said, I mean, local businesses are the heartbeat and lifeblood of a community. And I love this kind of stuff, especially now. Explain to me, you've mentioned this a couple times to me, and I don't think we've really talked about it. I kind of think I understand. Tell me about Homer Bucks. What are Homer Bucks?
You know, a few years ago, we were giving out some prizes for different, like people participated in parades and different things. And, you know, we started the chamber started handing out gift cards to them. And if someone made a response, oh, great, I'm heading up to Anchorage, I'll use this up there. And it's like, you know, just the thought of that money kind of going outside of our community isn't one of the goals of what we try to do. So we started a program called Homer Bucks, and it's a currency that we keep locally, and our chamber members can accept that same dollar value as they normally would for cash, and then we redeem it 100% for the value when the members bring it back to us. So it's kind of like a gift card, but now you can use it at almost 80 different businesses here in the local area. So it's a great way to keep money inside our economy. And prior to last year, I think we had, over the course of since 2018 in this program, had kept over $500,000 of economic activity in our community. And so now we get a point where a lot of local businesses can use Homer Bucks for employee incentives during the holidays. And so it's just a good way to keep that money local. And it's become extremely popular.
No, I mean, that sounds great. I mean, if I'm buying bonuses and I want to come to the chamber and say, hey, like I want to buy some Homer Bucks to be able to, I mean, that would be great because again, then you've got a choice of, what did you say, 80 different businesses that you can spend it at. I mean, that's a great way to do it. The fact that your participation rate, that's always, as a radio guy, that's always the sign of a good promotion, is if you have more people wanting to join it the second, the third, the fourth time. If there gets to be a waiting list, you know you've got a winner on your hands. And I mean, 30 businesses in Homer, and this takes place over a single day, over the weekend. How long does it go?
It starts Friday and goes through Sunday. So we do it for the 3 day for the weekend. So you got a chance to get around and see all the businesses. And, you know, one of the businesses last year that I thought did embrace this the best, Homer Inn and Spa. So they were, you know, it's new owners bought the business. They were doing some remodeling, different things. And so, you know, as people came in to get their card stamped, said, yeah, we'll stamp it, but let me give you a tour of what's going on. And everyone got a tour of their place, and most locals hadn't ever been there before. So, and then they put a deal on gift cards and so local spa packages, and it turned out to do really well for gifts for the holidays. And, you know, that's exactly what we want to see happen. Invite people in, show off your business, and go to places you haven't been to before. And that's what just made this so successful. But I was so impressed with, you know, almost half the amount of people spent that 3 day weekend to get all 25 businesses last year taken care of and, you know, visited. And this year now you have to go up to 30.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is fantastic. And again, that's businesses and business owners using your head. If you've got all this publicity going on around this thing, why not offer specials? Why not put something together and give the people a reason, not just to come in and get the stamp and leave, but to stick around and take a look and, offer some in-store. I mean, if I could offer some advice to some of these businesses, you should offer some those days only in-store specials for people who come in with their bingo card and say, if you do this or you do that, or we offer a free or their own drawing. I mean, heck, come on in, sign up for their own drawing in store as well for other prizes. I mean, it'd be a great way to do it. I love seeing this. I love seeing local communities come together, local businesses working in cooperation with each other, and being able to do this. I think it's pretty fantastic. Where do we get the bingo cards, Brad? Where do they come from, and where do we get started, and where do we turn them in?
You bet. So each of our businesses, the 30 businesses, we give them a stack of cards, and we have about 5 or 6 different variations of the cards. So not everyone is going to have the same, list of businesses to get their bingo. So it can mix up a little bit. So if you visit any of the 30 businesses that are participating, you can grab a card and then just go around and shop and get it stamped. And then starting next Monday, that would be the 2nd, I think it is. Come on down to the chamber, and you have 3 days to bring that in. So for every bingo, and if you do a black out of all 30 businesses, that gives you 6 chances to go into the drawing. And then on our tree lighting ceremony, we start picking winners. So you got 6 different prize packages, and then the top prize at $300 Homer bucks. If you want to see the list of businesses, if you just go to homeralaska.org, there's a banner on the top of that page, and it'll take you to our landing page where a list of businesses are there. And then we're still gathering some of the specials that they're doing, so we'll put some of that up there. But also, if you're participating, there are a few businesses that don't open on Sunday. So if you want to get that blackout, you need to try to get those guys on those first 2 days. It's so much fun.
So this is again going to be happening Black Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the shop local weekend, and everything else. And so go out, get your bingo cards, go see as many businesses as you want to see, up to 30. And then turn that in, and then don't miss the tree lighting ceremony on December the 5th. That should be fun stuff. Brad, what else is the chamber? We got about 2.5 minutes here, and I don't want to waste it. And I know the chamber's got lots of great stuff going on this winter. There's lots of things happening. Even people up here in Matsu may want to come down and enjoy. I know that Bear Creek is going to be doing their Christmas Festival of Lights in December. And I know in their botanical garden, I know you've got lots of things happening. Tell us what's going on this winter in Homer that people might want to come down and participate in.
We have amazing ski trails and snow machine opportunities, and most of our town is open except for the Spit. That just physically they can't open during the winter time, but we have wonderful winter activities down here, and a lot of our town is open. So, and we have a new business that is starting this year doing snowmobile. Well, they call it snowmobile, but snow machine trips out there, guided trips. So if you ever want to come out and learn what that's all about, getting out there, that's another new adventure. So, but our ski trails up here are fabulous. Get up on the hill and see some beautiful scenes. So come enjoy that. Our culinary scene up here is spectacular. We've got a number of new businesses that have added to that mix. And so it's a great time to come down and enjoy that. But hey, Michael, if I can do one other plug, hope we have enough time. We have a brand new event next June it's called Homer Harbor Fest. So it's a big new music festival that we're going to be starting and a way to really kick off our summer season. So we're developing that. We got some big acts that have just confirmed for that. So we'll have more information soon, and something I definitely want to talk to you more about.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about Homer Harbor Fest next June. You guys are still doing the Winter King Festival as well?
Yeah, that's coming up on March 22nd. That is the largest fishing tournament on pretty much the West Coast, but it's a great time. We get about 12 to 1,500 anglers in that. Last year, the top prize was it took home $75,000 for his 26-pound king salmon. So great fun, lots of money, and we give away about $30,000 worth of merchandise prizes along the way too. So great times.
So you can go to homeralaska.org to find out about all the events that the Homer Chamber does. and find out. Of course, the Buy Local Bingo is coming up now, plus the winter thing and the Harbor Festival and all that stuff. So go check it out, homeralaska.org. And Brad, if anything else comes up, don't hesitate to give us a ring. Like I said, we're going to have the folks from the Palmer Chamber on next month to talk about Colony Christmas there and everything else. So we really want to reach out and highlight all these local people who are just trying to make ends meet, just trying to keep that Alaskan economy alive. And we appreciate all your effort and everything you're doing down there.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the chance to tell everybody about it.
Appreciate you coming on board. Hold the line for just a second, folks. That brings us to the break. We got more coming up. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the election results. We're going to finally talk about the ballot measures. I know. And we will discuss a little bit more. Plus, phone lines are open, 319-527-3864. If you are going to be in the Homer area next weekend, don't forget the Buy Local Bingo, or if you just feel like going down and doing a little shopping and enjoy yourself, now's the time to do it. We'll be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We return to more in just a moment.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Brad Anderson, our guest. I just want to give you one final bite at the apple. Anything else, Brad? I mean, since we had you here, anything else that you guys have got going on? I mean, I know you guys do Winter King. You got Harbor Festival. I know you're going to do another fish tourney in the summer. There's all kinds of things going on. Anything else we need to know about, or folks want to get involved with the chamber or whatever? What do we need to do?
Sure. Yeah, no, all the information, everything we're doing, you can find on our website. That's homeralaska.org. But, Homer is kind of unique, and we have, so many things that you can do here locally, and some industries that are really special to us. Our culinary scene is just one of the best that you can find. And so we do a big Taste of Homer event too. That'll be happening right before our leading into our Harbor Fest event next week. So if you ever want to come and enjoy and see all the the restaurants that are all now open up for the summer season, that's a great time to come and see. So
yeah, well, Terry and I always say that we basically, when we go to visit Homer, we always just eat our way through Homer, because there's so many different great eateries and restaurants and food trucks and everything else to get a chance to taste it. It's always fun to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, and we've added about 3 or 4 more new places. Some new food trucks are coming next year, so it's going to get even more vibrant.
Now, I'm looking forward to it, and of course, like you said, the different fishing tournaments and everything else, the tree lighting ceremony. You guys just did something. You did a fall festival. Is it you just did back in October? Didn't you just do a fall festival?
We part of the chamber, we really like to try to get our community engaged and kind of get out and meet each other, and certainly try to create memories for kids out here. So we do a fall festival the Saturday before Halloween, and you do it at the chamber. We work with a couple local PTAs and come out, and different businesses sponsored booths and put a little haunted walk out, and so we had a lot of fun with that. And then for Halloween, our downtown area is along Pioneer Avenue, and so we talked to a lot of businesses and encouraged them to do a little trick-or-treat event that night. So on Halloween from 4 to 6 p.m. we do Pioneer Avenue trick-or-treat, so kids can go up and down and see businesses and bring their parents along. And we had, oh my gosh, that was about almost 50 different businesses that opened up and participated in that. And it's just a sight to see our main street with all these kids and families all in costumes going down there visiting it. And it's a great way to have people see businesses they've never been in before. Oh, it's so fun.
Stop teasing me, Brad. Stop teasing me. All right. Well, Brad Anderson, Executive Director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce, thanks for all the hard work you do. I know you've put a lot of your heart and soul into, making Homer a destination and bringing all these folks together. You do a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and I appreciate you doing that. And thanks for coming on and reaching out to me. That was great to be able to talk with you about it.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. And I'll be listening on Monday the 2nd and here trying to find out what your big news is.
Well, there's the stuff and things, Brad, stuff and things. That's what's going on. All right. Appreciate you coming on board. Thanks for being part of it.
All right. Thank you.
Brad Anderson, Executive Director of the Homer Chamber of Commerce. All right. What else we got here? Let me turn off all the doodads and the widgets and the little things here. And let's get back to where we were. There was a couple questions. Frank said something about the auction, which is going on tomorrow, starting at 8 a.m. Right after this show, I start doing the on-air radio auction in Fairbanks. Frank says, if the radio auction does not start till tomorrow, how come all the buy it now items are all gone? That's because they've zeroed out the the amounts. That's why they did it, because they zeroed out the amounts. What? There we go. No, that's what the heck, man. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, so they've zeroed out all the amounts. All those amounts will be put up to the at 10 a.m. on Friday, tomorrow morning. The amounts will all be corrected. There you go. Jeannie says, I think closing small business was what would the desired effect was of ballot measure number 1, squeezing Alaskans out of Alaska. God, I hate to think that, but that would be an effect of it, wouldn't it? I guess. All right. Well, we got to go. Let's jump back to it. Brad, do the people have to be present to win the bingo? That was the one question. Do they have to be present to win? Here we go. The Michael Duke Show.
The Michael Duke Show, proudly splitting the left versus right dichotomy. Yeah, I had to look that word up too. I don't think it means what he thinks it means. Here he is, though. That guy, Michael Dukes, the one with the show.
Okay, just 2 more segments for today's show, the Thursday edition of the Big Radio program. Appreciate you coming in and joining us. We've been going over, we just finished up with Brad Anderson, the Executive Director of the Homer Chamber, talking about their big event next week, their Buy Local Bingo. And you could find out all the details about that at homeralaska.org. Like I said, I want to do more of these things where we're going to be talking with the chamber in Palmer next month, and maybe the Wasilla Chamber as well about their events. There's lots of events happening for Christmas and everything else, so we'll be talking about that. But it's always good to hear from the local folks, especially those businesses who are in the trenches. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be a battle now with the new ballot measures. Not the redistricting, but the ranking has now taken place. Ranked choice voting from yesterday, the tabulation took place, and we are we've gone through most of them, and I might do a quick recap on that. But we were up to, I said there was good news and bad news. And here is, my friends, the bad news. So we're moving over to the ballot measures. Ballot measure number 1, which is the minimum wage ballot, minimum wage, and the paid sick leave, and the restriction of business owners' speech. That's how I'm looking at it. No business owner can have a mandatory meeting where they speak about things of a political or a religious nature, which, I mean, I guess is great unless you're an employer who's a church, or you're an employer who maybe their workers are thinking about unionizing and you'd like to make a pitch about why they shouldn't. That's political. You can't do that. And so everything, it's messed up on so many levels. The biggest component of this, though, is the cost to small businesses for providing paid leave for their workers for little mom and pop businesses. Now, one, if you don't think that this will increase the costs to you, the consumer, you're not paying attention. 2, if you don't think that this will drive some businesses out of business, especially small mom and pops, you are also not paying attention. But regardless, as I said, I expected this to pass, and it just passed overwhelmingly by like 15%. 57.97% to 42%. The ballot measure number 1 has passed, and that hurts, man. That really hurts. It's going to be interesting to see what small businesses do. Now, it's going to be, it's going to be, I guess, it'll be next year, or maybe it's this session. The legislature has to build a framework, because this just instructs the legislature essentially to build the framework to make all this work. But boy, I got to tell you what, as small business owners out there are trying to just holding their breath to seeing what's going to happen, this is going to be a very, very difficult thing to watch and look at. I'm just telling you right now. 183,000 said yes, 133,000 said no. That's a 50,000 vote difference right there out of 316,000 votes. So that's bad news number 1, but we were expecting that. Bad news number 2, the repeal of ranked choice voting has failed by less than 1,000 votes. Just around 700 votes. 49.9% to 50.1% out of 320,000 votes. 160,619 people said, no, we want to keep ranked choice voting. 159,955 said we want to repeal it. It's that close. It's so disappointing. It's so disappointing. Now, again, I don't know if I should say it's surprising. I knew it was going to be close. I just thought it was going to go the other way. I thought it was going to be 2,000 or 3,000 votes, and it was going to be a repeal. It was going to be yes was going to win, but it was going to be that close. But this is what happens when you spend 14 or 15 million dollars of out-of-state money to try and convince people how doom and gloom this was, right? That you wouldn't be able to vote unless you joined a party, that military members would be at a disadvantage, that all the things that were said, that it was the political elites who were trying to repeal your ranked choice voting and everything else, when it was it was not. It was rank and file people who put this together. I mean, they only had $100,000 raised, folks. I think all told, I think from the very start, including the signature gathering and everything else, I think if it was Michaela Emsweiler, I think told us it was $160,000 in total. That included the cost of putting it all together, but they only had like $100,000 to do any kind of advertising, which, I mean, I never saw a Yes on 2 advertisement. Did you? But boy, you could not click a mouse or kick a cat without seeing a No on 2 ad and all the doom and gloom. Of course, all paid for by, the 1630 Project or the Final Five or Arabella Fund or United America or somebody else. They spent $15 million to convince us that we needed to keep ranked choice voting, and it was less than 700 votes. Now, there's more than 700 people listening to this radio show right now. There's several thousand people across the state listening to this radio show at this exact moment. If every one of us had only brought one more person to the polls to vote yes on 2, we could have won. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, just think, if we had every one of us had just brought one. Now, there's going to be a recount. I can pretty much guarantee that at this point, because it's less than 0.5% difference. It's only 2% different, or 0.2% difference here. So I imagine that somebody will probably demand a recount. I'm assuming Izon will, but this is tough. This is going to be tough. Now, Phil Izon, who is the chief cook and bottle washer and the guy who spearheaded this whole thing, said that he's ready to come back in 2026 with another repeal. He said he's ready to do it. And he said, let's see if they want to spend another $15 million. Now, again, across the country, ranked choice voting was up for grabs in 9 locations. DC took it. It was defeated in 7 other places. And now Alaska has kept it pending a recount. But that means, you know, we're out of step with everybody else at this point. So it's very, very frustrating to watch. And that is pretty much everything that's in there. We can do a little bit of a recap or anything else, but I also want to go to the phones. Phone lines are open at 319-527-3864 if you would like to sound off. 319-527-3864. James Kaufman has won his seat in District F over Janice Park. That was one. Sarah Vance beat Brent Johnson down in the Homer area. Alexi Moore beat Stephen Menard in District 28 in the Mat-Su. Jubilee Underwood beat David Eastman in the Mat-Su as well. Rebecca Schwanke from District 26 finally won over Brandon Kowalski. And Nick Begich, of course, has won over and Mary Peltola has conceded. So that is the major recap, with the one race being the most surprising, and that was the District 18 race between Cliff Groh and David Nelson. That flipped yesterday. David Nelson has won by 23 votes. Now, again, it could go to a recount or anything else, but it was those overseas military absentee ballots that made the difference. 23 votes. And so, again, some of these other races are who was it that was 13? I was trying. I think it was Jubilee, wasn't it? Jubilee Underwood. No, it was Lexi Moore. She won against Steve Menard by 13 votes after the tabulation was done. 13 in a borough of over 100,000 people. 13 votes. So again, don't tell me that your vote doesn't count. I don't buy that for a minute. 23 in one district, 13 in another. Ranked choice voting repeal failing by only 700 votes statewide. All right. Let's go to the phones and see what you have to say. Terry from the Mat-Su is on the line. Let's go over there right now. Good morning, Terry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're doing good.
Monday night, I was at
Go ahead.
School of Government, and Phil Izon spoke. He's the one that wrote what was to go into the voter pamphlet. It's sent into the state, and they rewrite it and condense it. They sent it back to Phil. He made some changes, but they put it in the voter pamphlet the way the state wanted it and not the way Phil had corrected it. So we can blame a lot of this on the state for not correcting what Phil had written or giving him a chance to make it more clear. So it was a very confusing thing that went into the voter pamphlets.
So,
a lot of people thought it was
so he wrote
no instead of yes.
Right. And I did talk to a few people, Terry, who actually told me that they're like, oh, well, I voted no. I thought that's what I was supposed to do, that no, I don't want ranked choice voting. I'm like, no, you were supposed to vote yes to repeal it. So what you're saying is Phil Izon, the author of the ballot measure, sent in the synopsis to the state. The state rewrote it, condensed it, and sent it back to him and said, is this acceptable? And he said, let me make these changes. He sent it back, and they went and put their first draft back in the voter pamphlet, is what you're saying.
Correct.
That would lead me to believe that there may be a potential legal challenge there on that regard, which again, this would make the 5th major mistake that the Division of Elections has made in this election cycle alone. I mean, if this is the case, this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Well, Phil talked about it Monday night at the School of Government. Tonight, the Valley Republican Women's Group meets at the Wasilla Family Restaurant, and Phil will be the guest speaker. And I'm sure he'll speak on this topic again if anybody wants to come and hear what he has to say. The meeting starts at 6 o'clock, and anyone's welcome to come.
Well, while you're there, Terry, why don't you tell him to reach out to me and give him my email address, me@michaeldukeshow.com, and have him call me. We'll have a discussion about this when we get back in December, and maybe we can figure out what's going on with this, because I'd like to hear more about this for sure. Absolutely. So, all right.
Okay, happy to do it.
Thanks, Terry. I appreciate you calling in and joining us. That leaves one line on hold. We've got more coming up. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Dukes Show continues. One final segment dead ahead. Your phone calls, discussions, commentary, and more. It is the Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we're in the break right now. We got one caller on hold. Let's go over there and see who it is, and we'll talk to them when we get back onto the radio first, but let's get their name. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Carl Talkeetna.
All right.
Okay, now,
okay, no,
if we get the final...
Okay, Carl, hold on. You got to listen, my friend. We're going to get back to you here, and we're going to come to you as soon as we jump back on the radio. So just hold a couple minutes here, and you'll be the first caller in the queue when we get back on the radio, Carl. So hold the line. Okay? Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Sherry says, unfortunately, I know a couple of people who misunderstood and voted the wrong way. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Tim says we need to bring legal action against those lobbyists who lied to the people. I agree. I know Mike Shower is talking about bringing legal action against people who misled Alaskan voters with outright falsehoods. I think that is that's also important. Kim said, explain the difference in the amount of voters difference between 1 and 2. Well, let me go back to. Oh, I closed my thing here. Let me open that back up real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Come on. Here we go. I will open up the difference so you can see what it is here. All right. So a lot of people have been asking about that. The difference between the voting amounts, right? Yep. The difference between the voting amounts on the ranked choice. So ranked the ballot measure number 1 had a total number of 316,517 votes, right? That's the number of votes that were cast for that initiative. And then people are like, well, how did we get 316,000 votes for ballot measure number 1, but ballot measure number 2 has 4,000 more votes, 320,574. How is that even possible? Well, it's possible because nobody's holding a gun to your head and saying that you have to vote for everything on your ballot. It's the same thing for like Supreme. Look at what happens here. Here's ballot measure number 2, 320,000 total votes cast here on ballot measure number 2, right? But then you just look at the next thing, which is the retention of the Supreme Court. There was only 262,000 people who voted for that. Almost 80,000 people less. Why? Because people just chose not to vote for it. People said, I don't know enough about it, or I don't know what, and so they chose not to vote for it. Same thing happened between ballot measure 1 and ballot measure number 2. More people obviously felt strongly about ballot measure number 2, and so 4,000 more people voted. You could see that in every major race, going back even to the president. More people voted for ranked choice voting repeal than they did for the presidential race. And more people voted for the presidential race than they did for the U.S. Congress race. So people don't have to vote every part of the ballot. That's not, like I said, nobody's holding a gun to your head in the voting booth and say, you've got to fill out every bubble on every line. So that's what the difference is. The difference is people just decided they didn't want to vote on a specific issue. So that's why that is laying out the way that it's laying out there on that. So just FYI, that's what's going on. To answer Kim's question in there. Hopefully, Kim, that answered your question. Jeannie says, Michael, that is suspect. Well, this happens every election cycle. Any ballot measure, any national race versus a local race, statewide stuff, they all get different amounts. For every different component. There's been times, normally I vote no on every judge, but sometimes, like if there's 15 judges, I just don't vote. Because, first of all, I know that they're going to be retained because that's an easy yes for most people. And there's been a few times when I'm like, I just don't have time. I got to go. I'm not going to sit here for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes and fill out every bubble no, and I just leave it. So it does happen. I don't think it's suspect. Jeannie says it has to be accounted for. Well, if you wanted to go back through and hand count every ballot and make sure that there, how many empty bubbles there were, yeah, you could do that. But I don't see that as being suspect to me. I just see that as being human nature, personally. That's just me. Okay. Let's get down to it here. Carl's in Talkeetna. We're going to get to his call here in just a sec. We're going to take that and we're going to see where we go from there. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that kind of stuff. Here we go right now.
The Michael Dukes Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right, welcome back to our final segment for Thursday. Don't forget, tomorrow is Firearms Friday. Going to be dealing with some gun stuff tomorrow. That's going to be exciting. But we're taking your calls right now, 319-527-3864. Carl is up in Talkeetna. He had something he wanted to say about the election results. So let's get his call, see what he has to say this morning. Good morning, sir. What's on your mind?
Okay, so ballot measure 2, you take the $15 million spent, surely to go up because those final numbers will not be reported for another month or so, on the amount of money to APOC, and you divide it by 161,000 votes. That's $93 a vote.
Right. No, it is. I mean, you're saying, so you're just saying the cost. Are you saying the payout? What is
how much they spent per vote? How much they spent per vote?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you.
$93 yeah.
No, and here's the thing. Even if what you really should do is you shouldn't look at just the yeses, but look at the yeses and the nos. They spent $320,000, and we did this analysis yesterday or the day before, where we talked about this. And yeah, I mean, it ended up being something like $27 a vote when it's all said and done. And if you had to do the same thing in a place like where we only have 600,000 voters total, 320,000 actual casting their ballot. But if you did it over the 600,000 registered voters total, it's like $26 a vote. If they had to do the same thing in another state where there were millions of people, like if they had to do it in Los Angeles where there's 20 or 30 million people, I mean, they would have had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to get the same result. That's why they continue to focus on places like Alaska, Wyoming, Montana, because they're states with very small populations that can be easily overwhelmed with a lot of outside dark money.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the call.
All right. Well, thank you, Carl, for bringing that up. I appreciate you holding, and thanks for participating this morning. That leaves all the lines open. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. How do you feel about the election? I mean, there's a lot of people in the chat room who are highly suspicious of ranked choice voting failing. And I'll be honest, I'm not highly suspicious. I want to make sure that, and I'm sure that there will be a recount because it's within the bars, right? That was in the margin of error. So we'll see the recount. I would definitely want to see a recount at this point just to make sure, because you're only talking about 700 votes out of 320,000 votes cast. You're only seeing a difference of 700 votes. And but I don't see it being suspicious that we lost. We knew that this was going to happen. A lot of the votes that came in the end were more rural votes. And so we knew a lot of that was, that they were being fed in the rural areas and in the Anchorage area, which is where all the votes on Monday, that's when the scales tipped, was on Monday, was when they tipped over to the repeal losing, was when they did all those absentees and early votes from the Anchorage area. So we knew that was going to be part of it. And we knew it was going to be close. Again, I'm not suspect because these people spent 15 at this point, and Carl was right. There's a 30-day APOC report that takes place after the election. That is the final tally of all the monies that came in. It was already at 14 million and something. I guarantee you it'll be 15, maybe $16 million by the time it's all said and done. They outspent the repeal effort by 100 to 1. 100 to 1. So I'm not surprised that it lost. I didn't think it would, but it's not that shocking to me, especially at this margin. Now, at this margin, it also raises some of the questions that Mike Shower raised yesterday, which is, with that with that data breach from the Division of Elections here a couple of years ago, where 131,000 voters' information was compromised, it wouldn't take much for a 700 vote swing. That needs to be addressed, right? We need to look at that as well. But again, this is not that surprising nor suspicious to me. Just like I was not shocked at all, I expected ballot measure number 1 to pass, because simply it flew under the radar for so long and it had such a feel-good message attached to it. Doesn't everybody deserve a living wage at $15? I mean, everybody's ignoring the fact that most places are already paying upwards of $15. I mean, you drive by any McDonald's or Taco Bell or whatever, and they've always got the sign out there that says we're hiring starting at $15 an hour. Did we really need a law for that? Or was it about something more? Well, it was about something more, quite honestly. It was about that paid sick leave, which is going to be excruciatingly expensive for small business. But most importantly, and one of the reasons why ballot measure number 1 was backed by 4 major unions here in the state, is that it disallows business owners from being able to talk politics amongst their own employees. And by politics, I mean whether or not they should organize. That is a political discussion. So if they want to organize and the boss or the owner wants to talk about the pros and cons of it and why it, wouldn't work out for them as a business, they wouldn't be able to do that now. Or if you're a church and you want to have a religious discussion amongst your employee, you could, it's a problem. It is a problem for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I fully want and support a recount of the ballot measure number 2 ballots, just in case, because I just think that makes sense. And I fully support, again, the recount for the District 18 Cliff Groves seat and everything else. I think that's going to be required. But again, I'm not suspecting this because, again, this was a long road to hoe and it was an uphill battle. When you're outspent 100-1, it's not surprising that this kind of stuff goes on. Because let's face it, most people are not paying attention to the nuances of this stuff for very long. You know, most people probably pay attention in the last 2 weeks before election. If they're not political critters and they do their duty to vote, they may start paying attention to it just a couple weeks beforehand. And if all they're getting inundated with is how Prop 2 is evil and it's the political elites taking your thing away and the military is not going to be able to vote and all the horror stories and lies that we heard out there, of course they got swayed because they don't have anything to compare it to. I'm not necessarily blaming them because they're living their lives. Well, I mean, I could blame them to say you guys should always look a little deeper and understand the issues more. But the bottom line is it doesn't surprise me. And I'm not suspect of it as of right now. Now, if we did an audit of the data breach and we found out that some of those people's names who probably hadn't voted in years and all of a sudden they started voting after the data breach, yeah, I got some questions about that. You know, I got some questions about that. Jeannie says, how is it legal to advertise lies? Well, that's one of those things where they have to do it, and then somebody has to file the complaint and an investigation has to pop up. I mean, I'm not one that would advocate for some governmental regulatory body that watches everything we say and then decides whether it's illegal or not. This is a case where somebody has to do something, break the law, and then somebody has to report it. It's not a perfect system, but again, I think it beats the alternative of having some governmental watchdog agency looking over everything you do and deciding right off the bat that your speech is illegal, right? I don't want that. But if it does happen, and I know, again, Mike Shower mentioned yesterday that he is going to file a complaint over some of the lies that were told in this, we need to see some real penalties. There needs to be some real pain for people who purposely put that kind of stuff out. And I'll be honest with you, you can't tell me it wasn't purposeful. They knew, for example, when they said military members would not be able to vote without registering for a party, they knew that was false. And they put it out for a week before somebody smacked them on it, and then they pulled it back. But the lie is already out there, right? It's like those lawyers who say something in court and then say, well, I retract that. It's already out there. The jury's already heard it, kind of thing, right? All right, tomorrow is Firearms Friday, and then we're off next week. We'll see you tomorrow, my friends. Have a great day. Be kind, love one another, live well. Okay, well, we got to go. Thank you for being part of it today. As always, educational, fun, and entertaining, right? That's what it's all about. Got to keep you smiling and keep you thinking. Audit, hand count. Jeannie says, suspect, all caps. Again, not that surprising to me. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just jaded in my old age. All right, my friends, we will see you guys tomorrow. Be kind, love one another, live well. The Michael Dukes Show.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.